Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Stellaris tutorial. I'm Emilios Kelvin, where we're going to be going through the, let's call it outside the game choices and customizations that you can make. In particular, when customizing your race. Whoops. Edit. So, among a bunch of things that you can modify about your species, such as appearance, name, and name lists, which just changes your ship names, your leader names, your planet names, and so on, there really isn't that much that affects the game itself. But what does affect the game, we'll be going through here. In particular, I'm going to start with traits. There are numerous traits, all of which are actually pretty clear as to what they do. There are a few that I'll be going through because, you know, sometimes they don't make things very clear. Like, energy credits plus 15% is very clear. That will increase the rate at which your entire empire generates energy credits by 15%. Well, okay. I shouldn't say your entire empire, just this race in your empire when they work and create energy credits. Similar thing with minerals and industrious. Intelligent, improving science output of the race by 10% and so on. And there are a lot of other things. Talented, for example, just simply means that your leaders, when you create them, start with an extra level. Quick learners, they gain experience faster or slower. Strong increases army damage, which should be noted does not affect navies, only planetary battles, making that pretty much useless. On the other hand, minerals plus 10% ain't bad. In fact, actually, I've been using non-adaptive, but I'm actually going to remove that and put in weak. Because I just realized army damage minus 20% is fucking meaningless. And there are a lot of others like this that we can go through here. But a few to note are some combos, actually, that we can go through. For example, Endearing, leader lifespan plus 30 years, is very well combined with Quick Learners. Because this means that they will get up to skill level 5, and then maintain that for an incredibly long time, giving you extremely good efficiency. I'm actually currently using a combo right now, including growth time reduction and increase to food production. Food affects growth rate, and the more food your people have access to, the more they grow. And rapid breeders, reducing my growth time, means I effectively breed a lot faster. This is very useful for getting yourself up to snuff real quick with new colonies, and lets you expand a lot faster. There are a lot of little combos like that all throughout. Now, that said, there are some more problematic ones. Sedentary and nomadic I'm not really too sure I care much for. I don't use resettlement that much, but adaptive and extremely adaptive I think are very questionable and not particularly useful. Because habitability just simply affects the maximum happiness. Now, there is no bonus as far as I can tell for people having a happiness as long as it's above 40%. So as long as you're not sticking them on 20% habitability worlds, like say sticking people from an Arctic world on a continental world, well, you'll do alright. At least as far as I'm concerned. As long as everyone's at 40% happiness and is thus giving full production, I don't care. And I don't think anyone else does. That's a great thing about being a sociopath running an interstellar empire. And charismatic and repugnant, this is not at all well explained. Other species happiness. This is applied per pop that you have on the planet. So if you have 5 of these pops on the planet, every other species will have this modifier to them. So other species happiness plus or minus 5. It also affects relations a little bit. Making, actually, I think charismatic one of the better things to have for a more multicultural empire. But, you know, we shall see. Next up, government and ethics. This is an important one. Well, actually, homeworld. Yeah, you can choose your homeworld type here. The homeworld type is another thing you have to get through your head. In the homeworld type gives you the preference trait for your species. So having Arctic habitability, or Arctic preference rather, gives you 80% Arctic habitability. And then think of this as a circle, and every step you get away from your main world, it drops. So Arctics are okay on both ocean and tundra worlds, as you can see 60%. But if you try and stick them on continental or arid worlds, then they're in pretty bad shape. And they outright can't inhabit tropical and desert worlds. Likewise, continental worlds cannot inhabit tundra and arid, but can inhabit these four. So basically, the two on the opposing side of the circle are uninhabitable, as I just sort of go around and draw it for you. And that's particularly important. So, in all honesty, I would strike the entire other half of the circle, if I was you. 20% unless you get the extremely adaptive trait. Maybe some other modifiers. You might be able to make certain worlds habitable, but by the time you run to that point, I feel like it's better just to get gene modding and modify some of your people to be more habitable to that world. Seems easier that way. That said, we're going to continue on now. And to the government and ethics screen. So government and ethics is an important concept. In particular, what you choose here does not only have these effects, although these effects can be pretty staggering. But most importantly, they affect options in the game. For example, you cannot choose the maximum level orbital bombardment option unless you are at least militaristic, or even fanatically militaristic. In addition to opening up different government types. I believe you need to be a collectivist in order to purge. Xenophobic will allow you to enslave and purge laws for Xenos only, that is other races than yours. And I'm trying to think of the other ones. I know there are more. And throughout the game, you're going to find that these ethics that you choose have little effects like that. In addition to what you can respond to when you are given certain text prompts. You know, you find something. In particular, collectivists get a bonus. For example, when a comet passes by their planet. Where's the material? Yeah, it's materials who get the bonus from comets passing by. But spiritualists take a negative penalty. It's also worth noting that the ethics are opposing to each other. You cannot take them. You cannot be both individualistic and collectivist. You cannot be both xenophobe and xenophile. You can't be both spiritualist and materialist. And you can't be militarist and pacifist. It's worth noting that. Fanatic pacifist. Yeah. And a bit of collectivism. Perfect. Yeah, that's a lot of food right there. 10% extra or 20% extra food, and you know, food consumption minus 5%. There you go. Yeah, that's how you make something. As for what ethics is best, I'm going to say military is actually really important. Just the basic level of militarist, because it opens a lot of options to you. It does. It truly does. Like improved orbital bombardment abilities, the ability to attack and enslave primitive races. Militarist is probably single-handedly one of the best ethics just to put a single point into. Your remaining points can go into more or less whatever you wish. I'd stay clear of individualists though, with the extra ethics divergence. It's annoying to deal with, unfortunately. Does not work out very well. That said, in addition to this, the things that you choose will open up different governments. So if I choose this one, alright, and yeah. So there are these two axes change the governments you have access to. So if you're pacifistic, you have access to the bottom row here. Materialist gives you access to this row here. Militarist gives you access to this row here, and spiritualist to this row here. Notably as well, that the fanaticism does not actually help you in this case. However, you'll note here with these rows, if I select individualist, I lose access to this row. Fanatical individualist makes me lose access to both of these rows. And, likewise for collectivist, lose access to that row, and fanatic lose access to this row. It is actually possible to set it up so you literally only have a single government choice. So, take your pick. And how you design your ethics here can have a huge difference for everything. And you have to be very careful. And it's going to require a little experimentation to find out what works for you. There is no easy option for this, because, you know, you could go with slavery tolerance. Like, a bit of collectivism, a bit of xenophobia, and a bit of militarism. There you go. This is a very valid combination. Military dictatorship. And having this kind of stuff here. Alien slavery tolerance. Regular slavery tolerance. Kind of might be nice to go with the divine mandate for that for even more slavery tolerance. You can easily build a empire where you practically just enslave freaking all the other, races. Easy stuff. Don't even need that. Just go with full fanatic xenophobe. Alright. The particular problem is I can't ever recommend fanatic xenophobe. Just take collectivist instead, because slavery tolerance, A, will apply to everyone, including your own pops, in case you need some extra slaves. And B, while you might take regular xenophobia for that, xenophobia doesn't really help. Doesn't really help. But hey, a little extra food consumption reduction, always a good thing. Alright, and with that, we're going to get to the starting weapons. Now, this really doesn't have that much of an effect. This is entirely up to you. It's very easy to get the other techs, and in a matter of no time you'll have access to all three. I personally like energy weapons. Projectile weapons I've actually been considering switching to. And here's an interesting thing I've slowly learned from my experience, and I can talk to you about, is whether to choose projectile or energy weapons. I would personally stay away from missiles. Their vulnerability to point defense systems has left a very bad taste in my mouth after some encounters, let's call them. But projectile weapons are increased through engineering technology, whereas energy weapons are increased through shield technology. So, I would actually recommend projectile weapons if you want to use shields on your ship, and energy weapons if you wish to use armor on your ship. Now, and this is, and also you'll notice that they chew through the opposing thing that I'm recommending here. Or this thing I'm actually recommending use it with. Because this way it will spread out your military technologies into multiple trees, making it easier for you to improve your military power. If you use energy weapons and shields, like I have made the mistake of doing in my upcoming game, then you will find that all of my technologies are front-loaded into physics for military development, which causes some slowdown and some issues. So that's something to consider as to whether or not you want to use armor or shields. And seriously, just stay away from missiles. Nobody likes missiles. Now, FTL method. This is a rather strange one, and how they recommend warp for new players. And I understand why. Personally, I've come to favor wormhole travel. It gives me so much more mobility, and I'd really just say ignore the new and advanced players. The idea with wormhole is you build a gate that gives you a range that you can jump around in. Simple as that. Hyperspace travel's probably the hardest one, actually. I would say hyperspace is way harder than wormhole. And in particular because moving around is so hard because you can only do it on such limited fronts, although you do it very quickly. And yeah, wormhole travel, actually not that scary despite it saying advanced players. I would actually recommend it as the one for new players over warp travel. It's not too bad, but I think wormhole is probably actually very easy. I think it's tough for some people because they may not realize that they need to build the gates as much as they do, but it's a good mechanic. I like it a lot. I probably shouldn't be recommending wormhole travel to new players. I think warp travel is probably right for new players. Hyperspace is the advanced player option, though. I feel like wormhole's more medium. It is way overplayed being for quote-unquote advanced players. And outside of that, that's pretty much everything you can choose with your government that has a real effect in-game. So if you're looking for an easy sort of setup here, you need to look for certain combos that you can combine. You only have 4 trait points to pick, so if you want to pick enduring quick learners, you can do that, and you don't even have to take on a negative trait. That's one of the things that makes it such a great combo. And if you want a third one, well, that's not too bad, because you can just take on, a negative trait, and then you have a +1 you can take. Wouldn't be so bad at all. Yeah, natural physicists. There. So, look for little combos like that. I'm always spying from my own combos here. Unfortunately, there are a few, you know, ones that are extremely costly. So I'd have to be looking for some rather hefty penalties on this. Oh dear. So, you know, sedentary, repugnant, there. But then, my people live for 120 years. I don't think that's actually a good thing, though. At any rate, that's going to do it for our out-of-game tutorial. You should probably check out my in-game tutorial where I'll explain the basic mechanics of actually playing the game, and how to work around with it. And hopefully you'll join me for that. And I'll see you there. Thank you everybody for watching. This has been your lovely host, Kelvin, signing off.